Hello, everyone. Verse of the Kesa. Vast is the robe of liberation, a formless field of benefaction. I wear the Tathagata's teaching, freeing all creations. Vast is the robe of liberation, a formless field of benefaction. I wear the Tathagata's teaching, freeing all creations. Vast is the robe of liberation, a formless field of benefaction. I wear the Tathagata's teaching, freeing all creations. Gata of Atonement. All evil karma ever committed by me since of old, on account of my beginningless greed, anger, and ignorance, born of my body, mouth, and thought, now I atone for it all. All evil karma ever committed by me since of old, on account of my beginningless greed, anger, and ignorance, born of my body, mouth, and thought, now I atone for it all. All evil karma ever committed by me since of old, on account of my beginningless greed, anger, and ignorance, born of my body, mouth, and thought, now I atone for it all. I went to the prison today, not yesterday, back for the first time in a year, and it was really interesting to chant with other people and without dogs barking. Anyway, let's do the incense. Honey, they're all right. They're all right. Don't worry about it. People know we have dogs. It's okay. Fragrance of this incense invites the awakened mind to be present with us now. The fragrance of this incense fills our room, protects and guards our minds from wrong thinking. Fragrance of this incense unites us with precepts, concentration, and insight. We offer it for all beings. Homage to the Buddha. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. I go to the Buddha for guidance. I shall become one with the Buddha. I resolve that I shall each day follow the way of life he laid down for us to walk and awaken to his supreme wisdom. I go to the Dharma for guidance. I shall become one with the Dharma. The gates of Dharma are manifold. I vow to enter them all. The goal of wisdom is ever beyond. I shall attain it. I go to the Sangha for guidance. I shall become one with the Sangha. In the spirit of universal fellowship and as a member of the Sangha, I pledge myself to strive for the enlightenment of all beings. The Metta Sutta. This is what should be done by one who is skilled in goodness and who knows the path of peace. Let them be able and upright, straightforward and gentle in speech, humble and not conceited, contented and easily satisfied, unburdened with duties and frugal in their ways, peaceful and calm and wise and skillful, not proud and demanding in nature. Let them not do the slightest thing that the wise would later reprove. Wishing in gladness and in safety, may all beings be at ease. Whatever living beings there may be, whether they are weak or strong, omitting none, the great or the mighty, medium, short or small, the seen and the unseen, those living near and far away, those born and to be born, may all beings be at ease. Let none deceive another or despise any being in any state. Let none through anger or ill will wish harm upon another. Even as a mother protects with her life her child, her only child, so with a boundless heart should one cherish all living beings, radiating kindness over the entire world, spreading upward to the skies and downward to the depths, outward and unbounded, freed from hatred and ill will, whether standing or walking, sitting or lying down, free from drowsiness, one should sustain this recollection. This is said to be the sublime abiding. By not holding to fixed views, the pure-hearted one, having clarity of vision, being freed from all sense desires, is not born again into the world of suffering. May I be happy and well. May no harm come to me. May I learn compassion. May all my friends, family, and those I love be happy and well. May no harm come to them. May they learn compassion. May all those troubled in body, mind, and spirit be happy and well. May no harm come to them. May they learn compassion. May all those who have hurt me in body, mind, and spirit be happy and well. May no harm come to them. May they learn compassion. May all those I have hurt in body, mind, and spirit be happy and well. May no harm come to them. May they learn compassion. May all my enemies be happy and well. May no harm come to them. May they learn compassion. May all living beings be happy and well. May no harm come to them. May they learn compassion. I'm going to move my chair a little bit closer because a couple of people told me last week they had trouble hearing, so during meditation. So we'll see if this is better. And hello, everybody. Hi, Art and Catherine. Hi, Janet. Hi, Jeff. Hi, Marianne. And the other people who are here that haven't said anything yet. Welcome to all of you. We're going to meditate on the Brahma Vihara. On the Brahma Viharas, the third one, on mudita, which is happiness in others' good fortune. And then we're going to talk a little bit about that afterward. So I'm not going to time it. I don't know how long it's going to take. I think around 15 minutes if you're trying to mute and meditate in silence. So take a few deep breaths as always. And let your breath settle into a comfortable rhythm. So what we're working on is being glad for the good fortune of others. Metta bhavana is cultivating goodwill. We want others to be happy. Compassion, Tonglen is cultivating compassion. We want others to be free from suffering. And this is when we want to be glad when we recognize that someone else is not suffering, that they're having good fortune, things are going well for them. And it can help to be aware that our good fortune, we could kind of see that as a blessing. And our blessings are the result of our good fortune or our good karma. Good fortune is the result of good karma. So the traditional phrase is something like, would translate to something like, may all beings enjoy or appreciate or keep the good fortune that has been attained by them. So, in other words, the good things that we experience are the result of good things that we've done. So, to begin, just bring your attention to the center of your chest, to your heart, and take a moment to be grateful for your own good fortune. Think about some of the good fortune that you have, some of the reasons you have to feel grateful. A functioning internet, for example, a community that makes it possible for us to meet this way. And maybe you had 3 meals today, and that's good fortune. Maybe you got vaccinated, that's good fortune. You're alive, healthy. And you can use a phrase like, may I appreciate my good fortunes, may I appreciate my blessings. And then traditionally, we would think next of a friend. So think of your friend. What good things have they experienced? And let some of those things arise in your heart and be glad for them. May they appreciate their blessings. And sometimes as we go through this, we maybe our friend or someone else will do this for maybe having a tough time. But we know that difficulties pass. That's the good part of impermanence, is that difficulties pass too. And we know that good fortune will eventually arise. But also, don't overlook the little things. They have a friend like you. That's good fortune. May they enjoy their blessings. And then call to mind your loved one. It's a little different with this one than it is with Metta Bhavana or Tonglen. I always use the friend first. But gladness often arises first for friends, most easily. But what good fortune is your loved one having? May they enjoy their blessings. And bring to mind an acquaintance, someone you feel neutral toward, and maybe you don't know enough to know very much about their circumstances. But if nothing else, they have people like you in their world. They live in a civilized country. They have air to breathe, water to drink, food to eat. May they enjoy their blessings. And now for the person you don't like, the person you're not getting along with, or that you're having some conflict with. Sometimes it's fairly easy to send them goodwill because we can be kind of abstract about what that means. And it can be kind of easy to have compassion because we can recognize that their suffering maybe causes them to do unlikable things. But then when it gets to hoping that they keep and enjoy the good things that they have, sometimes that causes a little resentment to arise. So just work with that. Don't try to feel anything special in one day. Don't make this the worst person you can think of. Make it somebody who's a little irritating, maybe. Think of them and what good things they have, and be glad that they have those things, and recognize them as blessings. You may not be able to think of very much good about this person, but they're blessed in some ways. So may they appreciate and enjoy their blessings. And finally, all beings. So, whatever beings there are, whatever goodness arises for them. Again, the traditional phrase is, may all beings keep whatever good fortune they have obtained. So we're remembering that when beings do a good thing, they get a good result. If they keep doing good, they'll keep getting good results. May all beings enjoy their blessings. And we'll spend just a couple more minutes meditating this way. And when you feel like you've wished all beings well, you can bring your attention back to your heart or your belly or the tip of your nose and just sit quietly with your breath. Buddha nature pervades the whole universe, existing right here now, and offering candles and incense, hearing the Dharma and training the mind. Great merit is attained. We dedicate this merit to the great Master Shakyamuni Buddha, the all-pervading and everlasting three treasures, to the 16 guardians and all protectors of the Dharma and their relations throughout space and time, to all ancestors of this Sangha and all beings in the Dharma world. May penetrating light dispel the darkness of ignorance. Let all karma be resolved and the mind flower bloom in eternal spring. May the Dharma body maintain strength and health, and years of life be lengthened for all teachers of this Sangha. May their vows be fully realized, and may they live in perfect peace with Buddha Dharma. We pray for those suffering from violence and those who grieve for them, for those living in oppression, for all who are imprisoned who should be free, for all refugees from violence, hunger, and catastrophe, man-made or natural. We pray for the health and well-being of those suffering from diseases of body, mind, or spirit, those working toward the healing of those afflictions. May they be serene through all their troubles, and may we realize the enlightened way together. Sabe sata sadahantu avera sukha jivino katang punya phalang maihang sabe bhagi bhavantu te. May all beings always live happily, free from animosity. May all share in the blessings that spring from the good we have done. I forget who it was that said they couldn't hear me last week during meditation. I think it might have been Nina. Was that better? If you're here, tell me if that was better. Guess she's not here tonight. Well, maybe she'll watch it later. So, let me pull a little closer. So that I can read if you post anything without having to lean forward. There's a sutra called the Mahamangalam Sutta, which means blessings, great blessings. It's the Mangalam Sutra, but it's the great Mangalam Sutra. Anyway, it's a sutra about blessings. And those of you who were going to DeLand, when we were meeting in DeLand, once in a while we'd chant this. It was in our meeting guide program. I'm thinking about putting it back in. We'll talk about that later because it's just so good. It's got so much good stuff in it. So I'm going to talk about it a little bit tonight. And I'm not sure if I'll get through the whole thing. It's not hugely long. So print it out. It's a little over a page. And I got 3 pages here, but a lot of it's notes, it's annotations. So, but there's tons in it. There's just so much in it. The first time I encountered this, well, it's in the chanting guide at Theravada temples. It's just one of the things that they chant in Pali. So, unless you can chant in Pali and read the English at the same time, you don't know what you're saying. But you come back and look at it and see what it is. But the abbot at Wat Florida Dhammaram, Tung Chau Kun, was giving Dharma talks about it. And the way the Dharma talks work there is they're in the afternoon, like twice a month. When, before COVID, they were doing this, like first and third Sunday of the month. And they were 2-hour Dharma talks. People start getting bored when I go over 20 minutes, 2-hour Dharma talks. And it took several of those to get all the way through thoroughly unpacking this sutra. So I'm just going to kind of read through it, and then we'll kind of go through some of these things and unpack them a little bit and kind of talk about this. So, thus have I heard. On one occasion, the Exalted One was dwelling at Anathapindika's monastery in Jeta's Grove near Savatthi. And when the night was far spent, a certain deity whose surpassing splendor illuminated the entire Jeddah grove came to the presence of the Exalted One and drawing near, respectfully saluted him and stood at one side. And standing thus, he addressed the Exalted One in verse. Many deities and men yearning after good have pondered on blessings. Pray, tell me the greatest blessing. And the Buddha says, not to associate with the foolish, but to associate with the wise, and to honor those who are worthy of honor. This is the greatest blessing. To reside in a suitable locality, to have done meritorious actions in the past, and to set oneself in the right course. This is the greatest blessing. To have much learning, to be skillful in handicraft, well trained in discipline, and to be of good speech. This is the greatest blessing. To support mother and father, to cherish wife and children, and to be engaged in peaceful occupation. This is the greatest blessing. To be generous in giving, to be righteous in conduct, to help one's relatives, and to be blameless in action. This is the greatest blessing. To loathe more evil and abstain from it, to refrain from intoxicants, and to be steadfast in virtue. This is the greatest blessing. To be respectful, humble, contented, and grateful, and to listen to the Dharma on due occasions. This is the greatest blessing. To be patient and obedient, to associate with monks, and to have religious discussions on due occasions. This is the greatest blessing. Self-restraint, a holy and chaste life, the perception of the noble truths, and the realization of nirvana. This is the greatest blessing. A mind unruffled by the vagaries of fortune, from sorrow freed, from defilements cleansed, from fear liberated. This is the greatest blessing. Those who thus abide ever remain invincible, in happiness established. These are the greatest blessings. So let's unpack a little bit of that. So first of all, this particular monastery is talking about Anathapindika was a very wealthy man who became devoted to the Buddha. And Jeddah's Grove was apparently a beautiful place that he really wanted to buy and have the Buddha put a monastery there. Now, I guess it was near where he lived, but also he just thought it'd be a perfect place for a monastery. And so he acquired it. It basically took all of his wealth to buy it. Now, the Buddha didn't ask for this. He wanted to do this. And the person who owned the property really didn't want to sell it. So it ended up costing him everything he had pretty much to acquire this. But apparently it was a beautiful monastery. And you can still visit it. There's ruins there now. And so when the night was far spent, so late at night, basically a Dewa came. So Dewas are kind of like angels. They're divine beings, but they're not like the highest gods, but they're a big deal. And so there were Devas who were followers of the Buddha who wanted to learn from the Buddha. And so it says this particular one whose surpassing splendor illuminated the entire grove. So just coming down, manifesting in the forest, lit up the place as if it were daylight. And came to the Buddha, and it said, drawing near, respectfully saluted him. So bowed to him probably, and then stood to one side. This was respectful. When we're respectful, we're looking like this, but in a lot of Asian cultures, you sit to the side. So, and he said, many gods and many devas and humans have wondered about blessings, asked about blessings. So what is the greatest blessing? So in our culture, when we think of a blessing, we think of, somebody who's a religious figure, who's speaking to God on your behalf, basically, and conveying a blessing from heaven to you. Buddhism is different. It's not really like that. Our blessings are the results of our goodness. And so as he goes through this, when he says what your blessings are, this Dewa might have been thinking that he was going to say, to have wealth and a great family is the highest blessing or whatever, but he doesn't do that. He starts out saying, doing these good things is your highest blessing, is your greatest blessing, not associating with the foolish, associating with wise people. Because, if you associate with foolish, deluded people, generally you're going to probably become foolish and deluded yourself, right? If you hang out with people who tend to base their opinions on nothing, on what feels good to talk about or whatever, you know, I'm thinking about when I was young, and I can't remember what job I had, but after work, everybody would go hang out at like this convenience store and drink beer in the parking lot, and they would talk about. Everybody would have these really strong opinions that were based on absolutely no knowledge, right? And usually were disparaging the people who own the businesses that they worked for and things like that, right? Because that's just a lot more fun, than to actually work and try to make something out of yourself, So consorting with fools, you're going to end up being a fool. Probably you're not going to get smart by hanging around with people who are willfully ignorant. Somebody was talking about that. I can't remember the context. It's one of these meetings, if it was one of the Zoom meetings or if it was an email or what. But somebody was asking, like, Sensei, what about people who are, hang on to their foolishness deliberately? What do you do about them? Well, first of all, try not to hang around them, because at some point, when you have good information available to you and you prefer to ignore it, then that's a negative action. Your ignorance as a state because you don't know any better is not a negative action. But when you know better and you still behave foolishly, that's negative karma. So, not to associate with the foolish, to not do that is a blessing, because you're going to end up living a better life and you're going to have good results from that. And so associating with the wise, associating with people who, are awake uh, and are heedful and mindful and things like that, first of all, you're going to be probably in better circumstances. And you're going to probably be surrounded by a lot less drama and things like that. So you're going to feel better and you're going to do better and you're going to become wise yourself, because hanging out with wise people, you learn to be wise and to honor those who are worthy of honor. This is the greatest blessing. So he's, the conclusion that you could draw from this is that what he's saying is that, the run of the mill person in India 2,500, 2,600 years ago, was probably following philosophies that didn't really go anywhere, or were chasing after sensual pleasures, and thinking that that's where happiness was, rather than trying to live, a good holy life. So going to visit Buddhist monks, you wouldn't be hanging around with fools. Although if you in some of the stories we've been talking about at the Dhammapada, some of the monks weren't real bright either. But generally speaking, they're in a good place, and so they're working on it, right? And so, when you go to a temple, and you listen to the Dharma, that's a blessing. And to honor those who are worthy of honor means that you recognize the results of their efforts. Okay, because somebody doesn't become, the abbot of a monastery, for example, unless they're pretty dedicated to the Dharma. And so and their role is to help you find your path. And so, when you hang out with foolish people, they tend not to care about that. They tend, you'll even hear them disparaging people that they should be respecting. So, so this is a blessing to know what people are worth honoring, what people have done enough good that they're worthy of some veneration, and just know what people are wise and what people are foolish, and to have sense enough not to hang out with the fools and hang out with the wise. To reside in a suitable locality, to have done meritorious actions in the past, and to set oneself on the right course. This is the greatest blessing. So, some other translations of this phrase all of that a little bit differently. But when we did the meditation, I said you lived in a civilized land. Sometimes it's a little hard to tell, but I'm joking. I mean, we do. We live in a place with laws and that sort of thing. We're generally speaking, we're not fearful for our lives every time we leave the house. We don't have to hack our way through the forest to get anywhere. We can just go to the grocery store and stuff. And that's being in a place like this is a real boon. And the Dharma is available here, wherever here is for you right now. You could be on the other side of the world from me, but you're in a place where teachings like this are available, and that's a blessing. So that's a result of good karma, to be in a place where the teachings are available, to be in a place where your needs are generally met, is a result of having done meritorious actions in the past. And then being there and seeing this to set yourself on the right course. In other words, you're in a place where the teachings are available, where your basic needs are met. You've done some good things in the past, so you're open to this stuff. And now, because of your past actions and because you're in the right place, you can follow a good path. And that is a great blessing. Because if you didn't live in a place where these teachings were available, if you had been living an evil life, so you weren't able to even hear the Dharma, I mean, you could hear the words but not understand its importance, and then you couldn't set yourself on the right path. You would almost inevitably follow the bad path. So it's kind of interesting to think about something like Angulimala. We talked about him a couple of weeks ago on Thursday, and the version of the story that I use is one that's kind of a later telling of it that's got some kind of added stuff, to try to explain how someone who had done so much evil was able to become an arhat, and for those of you who don't know, Angulimala was a murderous bandit who killed a bunch of people and then ordained and became fully enlightened. Well, the thing is, he ended up being in a place where the Dharma was available. The Buddha was there. He came face to face with the Buddha. So he was in a place where that was possible, where there were monasteries where he could study. And as a result of having done some good things in the past, he was able to hear the Buddha when the Buddha said, stop, and explain, where he was headed. And then he was able to get himself on the right path. And that's a result of that. That is a blessing that resulted from good things that he had done. To support mother and father, to cherish wife and children, to be engaged in peaceful occupation. This is the greatest blessing. So a lot of times, when you're reading, especially reading things from the Pali Canon, a lot of it was written for monks, or preserved for monks. Basically, there were a lot of teachings, and since it was monks keeping them, most of what survived pertains to monasticism. But this says, there are things that are important for householders and that are still blessings to support your family, to cherish your wife and children, or husband and children. He was talking to a male deity, I guess. And to be engaged in an occupation. This is a peaceful occupation. I think we could see peaceful as being one that doesn't cause us to harm others. And so, in India, in the Buddhist time, a lot of the occupations that wouldn't have been peaceful might have involved really violence. You might have had to work for be a soldier or something like that. But basically, a peaceful occupation today would be, you're not in the business of doing hostile takeovers. You're not in the business of doing, financial transactions that are really designed to screw somebody and that kind of stuff, because those things are not peaceful either. And not only are they harmful to others, but they're harmful to your mind. So just like something like raising animals for slaughter, you can't do that without it affecting your mind. And you can't lie and cheat all day long without it affecting your mind. Once in a while, when I have time, I'll get a call from somebody who's, trying with one of these scam things. I'm calling from Windows, and there's a error messages coming from your computer. Let me have access to your computer, and that kind of stuff. And once in a while, I'll ask them, what sort of rebirth do you think you're going to have? Because they're damaging their minds doing this stuff. And every once in a while, I have a real conversation with one of them. Usually they just hang up on me, but it's happened a couple of times. That somebody has at least heard me. Now, are they in a position where they could change that job and do some right livelihood? That's another. Maybe they weren't born in a suitable place where they could do that, where they could have a peaceful occupation. The fact that we don't have to do that, the fact that we can make a living without hurting other people and that sort of thing, is a blessing. And it's the result of past good actions. To be generous in giving, to be righteous in conduct, to help one's relatives and be blameless in action, this is the greatest blessing. So, I've talked about the advantages, the spiritual benefits of generosity many times. If you've been listening, if you've been doing this very long, that the first thing you have to do is learn how to let go. First thing you have to do as part of that, you have to learn the value of sharing, right? And so the results of that it's really good for your heart, your spiritual heart, but also your physical heart. Apparently, there's research done that suggests that if we can be giving, generous people, then it's actually physically good for us. So I'm not sure. I meant to look at some other translations of this. I'm not sure what righteous means. I mean, I'm not sure what word they were translating, what some of the alternatives to that would be. But basically, to live in a way in which you're refraining from causing harm. If you take the 5 precepts, to not kill, to not steal, to not engage in harmful sexual activity, to not engage in harmful, false, or harsh speech, to not engage in intoxicants until they, compromise your mind. That would be righteous conduct. And then to help one's relatives and be blameless in action. And this is the highest blessing. So it's not just, don't do anything that the wise would later reprove, as we talk about in the Metta Sutta, but to help your relatives, and relatives can be the community at large, right? Sharing your good fortune with others is, is a great blessing. Stingy people are not happy people, and they're not people that the world looks at later on and goes, gee, look at the great things they did for the world. A few people might, maybe some other stingy people will look at them and say that, but it's when we recognize that our actions affect the quality of life of those around us, um, then we benefit from that too. So it's like almost 8 o'clock. So I'm gonna stop there. We're about halfway through these, and I'll pick up the rest of them next week. Um, because the rest of them, for the most part, have to do more with states of mind. Anyway, let me know what you think when you get a chance. Email me if you think you'd like us to be chanting the Mangalang Sutta. Sometimes we can do that. And feel free to ask me about it tomorrow or tell me about it tomorrow if you come to the Zoom meeting. Any questions, comments, anything? I know with the lag on YouTube, it's a little hard to interact, but yeah, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate your attention. I have to say this. If you haven't done it yet, find my podcast and subscribe to it. I'll be putting up the second episode. So episode 0 is the trailer. Episode 1 is the first real episode. Episode 2 will be coming up probably tomorrow, maybe Saturday. Probably be recording part of it tomorrow, putting it up Friday or Saturday. So it'll always be up before Sunday. I will see some of you at White Sands on Sunday morning. I hope that using the Dharma talks from White Sands in my podcast will kind of make it up to some of you that we're not live streaming anymore. I hope that that's I hope that that's compensation for that. So again, thank you very much. Hope you have a great night, and I will see you soon.